Hello, everyone, and welcome to As You Wish Publishing Podcast. And this is episode 7. We are back again, Todd and I, to talk to you more about this crazy world of creating your books. Hi, Todd. How you doing?
Hi, Kyra. Doing great.
Let's go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Tell us, what are we doing here today?
Today, we're going to talk about something very special. We're actually going to be talking about writing.
What?
Yes.
We don't normally talk about writing now, Todd.
And we won't talk about writing normally in the future. But this one is near and dear to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And it will benefit a lot of authors who are writing.
Yeah.
And this is based on a blog post that I did last year that actually got a lot of traction.
Yeah.
So it will help writers. Just be advised, writers, that this isn't going to be a podcast about writing.
Right.
But occasionally we'll pepper in some writing stuff. Ideally, you want to be talking to us when what you've got written is written.
Yeah, it's done and done.
Right.
But well, what they may not know is that we were authors and writers before
we really were.
We became publishers, and it was just kind of publishing became a natural extension of what we already knew. And so when we publish, and we publish our authors, whether they're entrepreneurs, whether they're people that are wanting to have their books as an asset, whatever it might be, or those who are wanting to bring books to the world that is their memoir or their fiction novel. We come from a place of being authors first because we were authors first. So we understand the ins and outs of authorship and how scary and frustrating and overwhelming it can be at times. But yeah, we don't generally kind of do the writing advice idea, but we are going to kind of talk about some of this.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it today just because it will be a very effective podcast for people who are writing, particularly memoirs. And a lot of first-time authors are memoir writers. So let's get into it. There's a lot to cover. Where are you writing from? The 3 stages of emotional authorship.
Oh, yeah.
Doggy. So whether you're writing a memoir or contributing to a collaboration book or just exploring your story on the page, knowing where you're writing from emotionally can change everything. A lot of people begin writing because something inside just won't rest, right?
Yeah.
A memory keeps resurfacing, or a moment aches for meaning. A story wants to be named.
Right.
That's often where memoirs begin, but it's not always where it should end. There are stages to emotional authorship. Each one is valid, okay? Each one is valid. There's no judgment. Each one serves a purpose. And while all are meaningful, not every stage is necessarily ready to be shared or ideal for publishing.
True that.
Doesn't mean you can't do it, but there are some things to consider before you do, and some pros and cons as well. So sometimes we write to feel.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we write to understand. And sometimes when the time is right, we write to offer. Mm-hmm. This isn't about polish, it's about position. So where you're standing inside a story as you're writing it, right? Are you still inside the wound if you're writing about your past or a past trauma?
Yeah, that's huge.
Are you looking back with perspective? Or are you holding something larger than your story alone?
Mm.
So what we're going to do is explore the 3 most common stages of writing from lived experience, which is a lot of first-timer authors draw from that.
Yeah, and I will say too, not just memoirists, but also too, and if you don't know what a memoirist is, just another way of saying someone who writes memoirs. I actually learned that word, and I was like, oh, I love that. That feels good to say. But also to people who are business owners who are using their book as an asset to be able to tell their story, not from that wounded place or some of the things that you were talking about, so that they're able to know, so they can noticeably be able to show where they've come from to their healed place, so that they're actually taking their clients into that next level.
I'm so glad that you said that, because I know we are wanting to position in that regard, because anyone who is a business owner, for example, or trying to establish credibility will want to write from this place,
the appropriate lens,
the appropriate lens of having things integrated, right? Because what makes you so credible of being able to help somebody do something is your expertise with it, right? Now, it's okay to help people when you're just beginning, but you're even more valuable when you've accumulated some expertise, and the more experience, the better, right? Like how integrated you are with whatever it is you're writing about, especially if you're offering it in a way that positions you as, say, a business owner, whether you're a holistic practitioner or an accountant or whatever, you know? So we're going to explore the 3 most common stages of writing from lived experience. Some of the most impactful chapters we've published, or books we published, were written from different stages. What matters most is knowing where you're writing from and writing it well. So these are the 3 stages of emotional writing. Writing from history, or something that you've felt or experienced, right? It's not sterile, it's from something you've maybe overcome, and how to do that well. Okay, so this is a framework that helps you understand where you are in your process and what your writing is ready for. All right, so stage 1 is writing for catharsis. Every personal story starts with a pulse, which is the urge to need to name something. At this stage, the writing isn't about craft, it's about release. A lot of journaling happens at this stage. This is where a lot of powerful pieces begin. It's where but it's also where many writers get stuck.
Oh yeah, right? For sure. I mean, like, I giggled there because giggles are welcome. Giggles are welcome. I most definitely have done that, where I was writing for catharsis, and then I was able to, maybe turn some of those, we would call that more like journaling, right?
Right.
Yeah, would do more like kind of journaling, and then I could kind of get some foundational pieces out of it. But ultimately, I don't want to share. I don't want anybody to see my journal. Right. There's a lot in that.
and I will say that you might even consider this a natural progression, because I did a lot of journaling before I published. And a lot of the things I journaled, I did publish, and I worked it into like a article compilation book, things I was thinking and feeling. Could I have refined my first book more? Sure, I could have.
Everybody could have.
Looking back on it. But that's the thing. When you grow, you call something done well enough just so you can move on to the next thing. Yes, everything is going to be snapshotted in time when you're publishing something. That's the nature of the beast. And you can always refine things as you go. With the best thing to do is avoiding like analysis paralysis. But yeah, let yourself grow through your books. So that's okay to do that.
Yeah, and it's perfectly normal to look back on your original book, or if you're in a collaboration style like Chicken Soup for the Soul type book, to look back and go, what? Wow.
Exactly.
Why did I say that?
What was I saying?
What did I do? I don't believe that anymore. And it's okay, because there's somebody at that level right now who needs that level of understanding or wisdom about that thing. So they can move forward more quickly. You're essentially cutting down the lead time on people's either development, or being able to get to a place of hopefulness quicker, or being able to, if you're a business consultant or something like that, be able to help them with product development or something like that.
Yep. And the people who are likely to read it may already be in your circles.
Oh yeah.
Or a near extension of your circles.
Yeah.
Be surprised how that works.
And you want them to do, you don't want to keep your book to yourself. You want to still let people know about it, and your circles are.
That's the point of publishing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what this stage looks like: the writing might feel raw or immediate or emotionally charged. Events could be described in detail, but without distance or containment necessarily. This is catharsis. Emotions are still live, like grief or anger, shame, heartbreak, Structure is minimal, more like a journal than a finished piece. The story is pouring out, it's not yet being shaped. So the emotional center here is expression. It's about naming and feeling, letting go. It's not about teaching or guiding, it's about processing in real time. And that does have value. I did it for years, journaling, before I got more organized and more perspective, before I even published anything. It was therapeutic for a long time. The reader experience, it's going to be more like unfiltered emotion, because emotions are still unprocessed. The reader might feel overwhelmed or confused or not quite sure where to land with the writing. Without narrative containment, the writing might feel like a private experience that might be shared too soon, like a journal entry, essentially.
Yeah. Very vulnerable.
Very
Could be a
much
little
so.
too raw. Yeah.
It can be, yeah. Why some writers get stuck here. This is the part this is where it gets interessante.
Yes.
For many people, especially those writing about something traumatic, the stage can last for years. And I mean that literally.
Yeah. And we've seen it happen.
Yep. Even if the event had happened long ago, if the emotional processing hasn't been metabolized, then the story can feel just as raw. That's not a failure. It just means that the writing is still part of the healing. And until someone feels safe enough to step outside the moment, it's kind of hard to write that with perspective, because it hasn't been internalized yet.
Yeah. So what, for our listeners who may not understand what metabolize means?
Integrated. Yeah. Like if you can describe something and narrate and name it, but it still feels charged, and you don't have sort of containment around it, or perspective, or the emotions around it haven't yet settled, it's not integrated yet. It's not metabolized yet. That can take time. When it's trauma, it could take long time.
Yeah.
And writing can help metabolize or integrate it. Coaching can help, therapy can help, whatever it is. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So if you find yourself circling the same story but unable to move it forward, it might not be a writing block. It might just be that your body is asking for more time. All right. So what is the gentle risk here? It's exposure before integration. Publishing at this stage can create vulnerability without support. So that what feels actually healing to the writer may feel heavy to the reader.
Yes.
Especially if the story hasn't yet found its shape. And a lot of first-time memoirists with trauma background somewhere in the back there can very much experience this. You know. There you go. Well, we'll stop on that one.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm not going down that road. So ask yourself, am I writing? This is for the writer. Am I writing to process something, or am I helping someone else process theirs?
Yeah.
Right? Either one is valid, but they serve different purposes. Do you see how this already ties kind of into publishing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing to be writing, from the trauma mindset. And often I've told people, they'll say, well, I want to write about this. And I'm like, I'll hear a sample, or they'll tell me something, and I'm like, do you feel really ready for that? And oftentimes they're like, no, I actually am not. And then I'm like, that's not the thing to write about then.
Right.
Probably let's take a step back off of that until you're actually ready for that, because there's plenty of time to get there to that part. You can write about other things that are healed.
Right. Yeah. That's what you want to do. Yeah. So the opportunity here is that writing for catharsis, it helps clear your field. It clears your energy.
Yes.
It creates emotional oxygen. It's a threshold. It's not really the destination, though. Definitely keep writing, keep feeling. It may be a draft that your heart needed to say before the offering that's actually meant to be shared. In my earlier days, I would start off by ranting and just about things that I was judging, I guess you could say, things that were charged about, or angry about, or whatever, just feeling charged about. It could be any emotion. And in that, words got on the page. And then later you come back and you strip out the judgment and find where the message is, or strip out the emotion, which the reader really doesn't need, frankly. Strip out the catharsis part and then see what remains. Is there a message there that someone would read that's distilled for them, that they can walk away with? Oh, I'm benefiting from this experience that this person had, without having to go through the exact emotions that this author had to experience.
Yeah. And a quick technique that I've used in mine is, first thing is I would just write nonstop, definitely ranting, and then I would catch a thread that actually was more stable or solid or grounded.
Right.
And then from there, after I was done with it, I would put it away for a bit and then bring it back out. And then I would just circle the sections that I felt a reader, I would look at it from fresh eyes as a person who would be the reader in the situation instead of the person that was inundated with the emotion of writing it. And then I would say, what would the reader find the most interesting about this? Good. Just like you said, and then just circle it.
Good.
And then that way you have a little bit of a spark later on to be able to go, okay, I'm kind of stuck here. Let me get back to my notes, and then I'll find that circled journal. Yeah.
Right. And starting from catharsis can be wonderful to get things on the page. A lot of times you got to get it out. You got to name it, but it's an emotional process that you don't really mentally control. So you can't force yourself beyond that until you're ready. And when I've seen people try to publish when they're in stage one, sometimes they get tripped up and they don't finish publishing because the experiences haven't been metabolized, integrated, distilled. They're still processing it, in other words. Mm-hmm. And on that note, friends, this is a little disclaimer. This is this podcast and this episode particularly about writing. This is our version of paying it forward, and publishers do not do this.
No.
And just so you know, when it comes to writing here, please understand, we do not help with writing. Like, we do not guide, we do not give opinions, nothing like that. That this is purely for you. When you come to us, you want to have that manuscript ready for publishing. We can do copy editing. I don't know if we're going to offer that forever, but as of this post right here, this podcast, we do offer copy editing and editorial notes, but nothing that would help you to develop it. Your manuscript really needs to be pretty much done before you bring it to us. So this is basically paying it forward. We wouldn't have anything to do with this. This is just a little candy in your Halloween bucket.
There you go.
All right. Stage number 2, writing. No, stage number 1 was
catharsis.
Writing for catharsis. Yep. Journaling, a great starting point. Stage number 2, writing from clarity. So if stage number 1 is the emotional exhale, stage number 2 is the moment we start to breathe through the story differently. The writing slows down, the insight begins, right? What does it look like? Well, the emotional charge has softened. It's still real, but it's no longer running the show. There's perspective. You're not just in the story, you're outside of it too, right? Now structure begins to emerge. Scenes, themes, meaning. The voice starts to feel steadier, less reactive, more reflective.
Yeah.
The story no longer demands to be told. It's ready to be shaped, right? Mm-hmm. So giving the manuscript time to rest between stage 1 and stage 2 is almost a no-brainer. Like, that's probably gonna be how that works. Leave it right there. The emotional center here is integration. So you've done some of the inner work already. Maybe some of the catharsis has been integrated, metabolized. You're not asking the reader to hold your pain. You've held it yourself. Right. So that rules out publishing for emotional exhibitionism, which is a different thing. Okay. That would be a different thing. Let's just leave it there. So now you're offering what you've learned, or you're seen. Excuse me. You're offering what you've learned, felt, or seen on the other side, basically. The reader experience is relatability and resonance. So when writing from clarity, readers feel less like they're witnessing a purge and more like they're being offered a perspective, right? They see you and they see themselves too, right? It's, remember, all these are valid. It's just they're different stages of development in the writing process when you're processing emotions, when you're starting with emotion and then refining it for publishing purposes.
Right.
And this episode helps you to recognize where you're at in that process.
Yeah. I'm just sitting here thinking about it, and like, I think about you might have a girlfriend or a guy friend or something like that. And then they come to you and they're always venting. They're always complaining about something. They're always on and on, all the bad things that ever happened to them. They just keep telling you about it and telling you about it and telling you about it. Well, as the person who's kind of sitting there listening to it, how quickly do you eventually want to be like, look, I think you might need to get some help, and I don't think I'm the person for that. Right. I love you very much, but I can't sit here with this and hold this for you. Right. So that's kind of a cue into kind of what we're talking about here. Right. It's just that it's happening on the page, and the person is kind of forcing themselves to read it. and they're like, oh, they'll put it down. I promise you, they will put the book down. It won't resonate with them because they don't want to have somebody just kind of venting at them. Right. So that clarity piece is massively important, because now it's shaping into something that's usable material. Yeah. Whereas the other kind just doesn't.
Yeah. The other one can, although it can be highly cathartic, therapeutic, you also want to keep carrying it forward if we're thinking about publishing. Yeah. Otherwise, if you publish at the first stage, if you actually do get to that stage, chances are you'll stop yourself because you're actually not emotionally ready to publish. But if you did, you would probably just be attracting readers who are in that exact same place of catharsis and, or dare I say, commiseration, if there's a dramatic element to it, where right. where it's about venting for the sake of venting. Please join me in this experience, which not an ideal place to publish, but as a stage, a great place to start. Yeah. Because that's the charge reveals the message sometimes, but you want to let it breathe and you want to let yourself grow and come back to it and not publish prematurely, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yes. And we see that though. I mean, we see dramatic type books, and we see fiction books, and we see different things where there's some kind of traumatic activity, or there's something like going on, or the memoir starts with some big heavy experiences that people have. So we do see that, and we do read those things, but you will notice that at some point they come out of the hole. Right. Right. Unless it's Hamlet, and then it's just devastation the entire time. But that's from the bard, and there's no one else that can do it the way that he did it, William Shakespeare. So it's kind of like, what level are we at? And know that yes, those types of things can be done, but they're incredibly strategic by people who are incredibly educated in literature and right. Things like that, and they have that study that not a lot of people have. And do not get hard on yourself about that. Just follow this process and you will align a lot easier with your voice and how you really want to come across.
Well stated. And I'm speechless. Well stated. And every good book has, thank you for that, has a story or where I came from. It's part of the hook. It's part of the backstory, so you can be relatable. The difference is that's a starting point, not an ending point. Yeah. If what I'm talking about with stage one, if you publish at stage one, the entire book is emotional processing. Yeah. And there's the reader's like, I'm about 100 pages in here, and they're still talking like it's the introduction here. Like, where's the change? Where's the turn? Where's the turning point? Yeah. And if it just, if there isn't one, then that author published a little prematurely, probably. Right. If there's nothing in it for the reader.
Right. Unless they say at the very beginning,
this is just for me.
This is just for me. Yep. It's my vent book, and you're just coming along for the journey, and you want to be here because you want to read this venting.
I love it because thank you.
And I'm okay with that.
Thank you for saying that, because I don't want it to sound negative. Just if you do want to write a book like that, thank you, Kyra. Tell the reader at the very beginning, because otherwise they're going to have expectations that they get something from this, like they learn something with some perspective, not just joining you in an experience of trauma, which can be beneficial to an extent, but the reader will want to know what's in it for them. And if you tell them at the very beginning, this is what's in it for you, this is what I do in this book, and then the reader is not under false pretenses about the book shaping into something that they might be normally expecting from a book that you are not offering.
Yeah, love it. This is good clarity. And in the clarity section, I think that's great.
How lovely.
How lovely.
So why some writers stay here? Stage 2 can feel complete, and the clarity stage. And for many writers, it is. There's clarity, there's containment, there's a sense of closure. Now we were hopping, kind of talking about stage 1, but we are actually in stage 2, the clarity stage. There's containment, there's a sense of closure, but clarity isn't always the end of the journey. Sometimes writers stop here. A lot of people publish here from clarity. They start with something raw, they develop it, they pull out the gold nuggets, and then you get the clarity. And that's where a lot of people stop. It's a great place to stop. It's a great place to publish. It's common to publish here. But clarity isn't the end of the journey. Writers usually stop here because the story makes sense, that feels like enough, right? But synthesis asks for something deeper, not just to make meaning, but to become the meaning. It's no longer about the story itself, it's about what the story unlocks in others. This is when you get to that next level of like the really good books that you see out there on the shelves, the structure of them, how they're designed. Now, don't think that this is beyond you. You can do this. Yeah. You can do this by following this structure. Okay. So the gentle risk at the stage 2 is over-explaining. So some writers overcorrect in this stage by swapping rawness for analysis. And when that happens, the story can lose its warmth. I've definitely done my share of this. Don't rush to sound wise. Let yourself still be human. Yeah. So that's a really good thing to maintain. Even when you're peppering in insights, talk to them as a human, right? Not as
someone is just above it all.
Above it all, right. Yeah. And even I've had perfectionistic tendencies, and it can lead to really great writing, but also some dissociation and from the reader. It's still respectable, but not necessarily quite as relatable in some points. So adding that human element in is good. And if I were to publish myself from here, I would have a lot more of that than in my previous books, which were a lot more just process and system oriented. And that's what I promised I would deliver. It didn't need to be a warm memoir. I was writing more so technically, so that was called for. But enough about me. So the opportunity at stage 2, this is where writing begins to carry power. Not from pain, but from earned insight, right? It's not about proving you're okay now. It's about sharing what it took to get here.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not performance. It's not playing the card of I'm healed. This is what I went through, and I'm healed now, to just kind of play control of the narrative, but not actually having integrated all those things.
Yeah.
Which is sort of a bypass. But you're not bleeding on the page anymore at this stage. You're offering a bandage, right? You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have gotten it done all together. You can say, hey, this is the hell I went through. You don't take the entire book to say that, just the beginning. And then you teach them, share some things about where you're at now. And I'm okay with being a work in progress.
Yeah, totally.
That's it. And then just try to offer something for the reader. And that's a great book, period.
Agreed. Yeah. And what I see too is that a lot of times people spend too much time describing the event or the hardship that they don't have a very clear conclusion or even a middle ground, where it's like, you know, it's like they just make that trauma the beginning, middle, and end. You know, and it doesn't like pull it together for you. So a lot of times people, and I've seen this hundreds of times, where people will go, okay, this really bad thing happened and it's really bad and it's bad, but I'm okay. And then it ends.
Right.
And I'm like, wait a minute, how are you okay?
That's
I'm not
one.
okay. And I just read this thing.
Yeah, that's stage one, not stage two.
Yeah. I guess I'm just kind of walking into, you might have clarity. Make sure if you're in that stage, make sure that your conclusion is a little bit bigger than just bloop.
I went through this, the end.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. And I'm fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh?
Now, before it sounds judgmental, I want to say we will publish your book at stage one. If it is within our general genre fit and there is an author fit. We're not going to judge your content.
Nope.
So long as it's within our realm, of genre fit. It's not a children's book. We don't do that, right? We'll do memoirs and things like that. Mostly it's about how easy are you to work with, and is there a fit, and can you follow directions as an author, being a steward of your manuscript as we publish, because we don't work with you on your content. Yep. You just show up with the content, and then we work with you to publish you. So please do not think that we're judging content. We're not. We're just we'll publish anything that is constructive enough and it's in our lane. But you're not going to. But we're not going to judge your writing. You can publish whatever you want, and we're not going to change a thing.
Nope.
Except for formatting and maybe some light copy editing if that's what you asked for, that kind of thing. But basically it's on you to bring it to the table. This post is just about giving you the opportunity, sort of paying it forward in the event that you want to develop a better book before you publish it.
Yep.
And if you don't want to, if you're happy with where you are, regardless, then we're happy for you too.
Yeah. And we've definitely seen that in the past, and yeah, no judgment.
Yeah, there's no judgment. It's just, hey, if you want some tips for better writing, here you go. Stage 3, writing from synthesis. Stage 3 is rare, okay? And it's unmistakable. Very few books that we published are in stage 3. It's when the story you've lived becomes something larger. It's not just yours, but it's ours, right? It's not just personal, but it's cultural. It's systemic. It's timeless. What does it look like? Well, the story is no longer the focus. It's just the doorway. The writer speaks with quiet authority, nothing to prove, nothing to hide. The writing breathes. It's spacious. It carries more than it says. The personal becomes universal without losing specificity. And the writer is transmitting, not just storytelling. So the emotional center here is transmission. You're not writing to express or explain or recount events. You're writing from embodiment. The story has moved through you, and what's left is signal, not just sentiment, right? It's something you've integrated. It's something you've learned. The story you've started with, or the hard times, were important and noteworthy, but only a beginning, not where you ended, right? So the reader experience, it's insight and shift. That's what the reader experience is. Readers don't just feel, they see. They step back and they understand something larger from what you presented in your writing. Not just you, but them. Not just the event, but the pattern. They leave with something that they did not have before. You've given them insight into something that you've shared, So how do you know when you've arrived here? And you don't have to, and there's no pressure to arrive here. And I aspire to arrive here whenever I write something. um, so be gentle with yourself. You're not writing to prove that you've healed. Please don't do that. That would be very obvious. You just are. There's no urgency. The story isn't the center of gravity anymore. It's actually woven into how you live, how you lead, how you love, right? You write without performance. You write without trying to establish a narrative about yourself. You're speaking without rehearsing, right? You trust your presence more than your polish, right? You're not trying to inspire, yet people walk away changed, right? You ever meet people like that who are just filled with presence, or just when you're present, because we all accidentally get to that moment sometimes where we're not trying to perform or impress or anything. We're just kind of there. We're just kind of doing our thing, speaking honestly in the moment, maybe vulnerably, maybe with love, maybe with no armor, and just being alive and connecting. That's impressive. That's what people need more of, right? That's connection. So the gentle risk with this one, too smooth. When writing becomes too polished, it can lose its pulse, its heartbeat. So don't mistake synthesis for like detachment, right? Let the reader still feel the heartbeat underneath the clarity, right? I can think of a dozen awesome authors who names that who do this really, really well, right? No matter what publishing model they chose, probably traditional. And then finally, the opportunity. This is legacy level work, not because it's perfect, but because it moves beyond you. The story becomes part of a larger conversation, one that the reader can carry with them. So this entire framework, it's not just a theory. It reflects a natural evolution that we've seen in many of our most powerful AYW authors. You don't necessarily have to systematize something from your experience, which is what I like to do, like this blog post I'm referring to, but to offer more so a framework that people can follow if they want to, and just apply whatever pieces they feel might most apply to them, while still giving the space to be completely valid in publishing whatever they feel most drawn to do, so that if they want to take it further, they can, but there's certainly no pressure to do so.
Yeah, I mean, this level is definitely a place that I think we all aspire to as writers. And I can't say that I've ever lived here for very long, but I do know that that when we think about this, and I love the kind of risks involved. We think about the kind of monk on the mountaintop and all this stuff, and they've just got it figured out, and they're just kind of at ease and balanced and whole, happy, and complete. But what we learn as we meet people who seem to have that sense of real completeness about them and wholeness about them, is that they didn't always start that way, and they don't always feel that way every single day. So even if it is very synthesized, it's okay to still add in that human element. And it's still okay, even if it's totally synthesized, for you to say, I'm still a work in progress, because until we end this life, we're always going to be something new to learn and understand. So that's, you don't want to that risk there, that lofty kind of idealistic thing, and then you're like, wait a minute, anybody can call like nonsense on that. Like, no, I don't think so. Yeah, it's real cute, but I doubt it. And that's not endearing.
Not at
all. Yeah.
And I think there is no shortage of people who, for lack of a better phrase, perform spirituality.
Yep.
Then
yep.
Just because we kind of come from that vein, or we're familiar with that genre, I guess you could say.
Oh yeah.
And that genre and the people in it have, it's evolved. Maybe that's the wrong word. it's progressed significantly in the last,
it's become
40
more
years.
it's become more prolific.
For sure.
Yeah, but maybe definitely not evolved necessarily.
No, not evolved.
But has become more mainstream. And in some ways that's very, very good. And in other ways it's different.
Yeah.
Because it's become a little bit saturated in its own way.
Saturated for sure. And this is a different blog post
absolutely
altogether.
Yeah.
But with the amount of, it used to take a lot of training and natural talent to do certain things and a long practicum. Now it's a weekend certification.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which there's nothing wrong with a weekend certification. You can learn a lot in a weekend, but you certainly can't call yourself an expert.
No, because time reveals expertise.
And practice.
Time and practice, not just training.
No.
But the training is a start.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So, in conclusion, writing from experience is a sacred act. Every stage matters. Stage 1 helps you to breathe. Stage 2 helps you to build. Stage 3 helps others remember what they already know. You don't have to rush the journey, but if you're thinking about sharing your story, it helps to know, where am I writing from? And what's the most generous version of this story for the person on the other side of the page, right? Write for you, then write for them, then write for something bigger.
I love that.
Every stage is valid. You can publish from every stage, but clarity around the stage you're in, that's where the magic begins. Mm-hmm. So if you're ready to publish professionally without any of the confusion, see how our publishing process will work for you.
Todd's radio voice on full display.
Full display. Yeah. If you have a near finished manuscript or finished manuscript,
talk to us.
asyouwishpublishing.com.
Yeah, and I'll put the link in the show notes.
Look at our offering and then apply. It's not an acceptance. It's not about acceptance. It's about fit.
Yeah.
Fit with our publishing model. Yeah. And you want to apply once you know that you want what we have to offer, right? Not because this isn't an exploratory call where we have a grand conversation about your dreams. It's no, you've already read one page on the website. You know that this is what you're wanting to do. And it feels like how you want to publish your book. And then we talk about fit.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've said absolutely a number of times. I really mean that.
Absolutely. You
absolutely.
did. You absolutely did.
Yeah. I am so happy that we talked about this because it was probably one of the main things that I noticed the most when we started publishing other people's books. Not other people's books, but collaboration books, mm-hmm. Especially like our big 100 author mm-hmm. books and things like that, is that there was a lot of people still in process. Mm-hmm. And it didn't mean I didn't publish them. I absolutely did. Mm-hmm. It was more just also helping them see it and helping them. And I would even say, are you sure this is what you, and sometimes they would take it back and they would make some adjustments and they would get more clarity. And mm-hmm. so, there's plenty of time to make adjustments. And so if this is kind of your moment to go, hey, maybe I should go back and look at that manuscript. This is a perfect sign for that. So go back, take a look, and see how you feel about it now after listening to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially for a solo book, because that's a much bigger investment of your time, energy, and money. Writing a chapter in a collaboration book is a much less time and energy investment, and it's a good place to practice. Yeah. So if you're doing that, this is a wonderful place to practice, like the 3 stages. And like, how can I take this article to this chapter to the next level? If you feel like you want to do that in a way that gives a little bit more to the reader and just doesn't report on events, for example. Yeah. What could they walk away with that might help them?
Yep. Exactly.
And that's it.
And that's all. So thank you guys so much for joining us here at As You Wish Publishing, the podcast. And we will see you again on the next one. Check us out, asyouwishpublishing.com. And we'll talk to you later.